On today's episode of the CLS Experience, we have a very special treat. She's a mindset guru, health and wellness coach, TEDx speaker, best-selling author, and empowering badass. She turned tragedy into triumph and pain into purpose. She's a beacon of resilience, hope, and transformation. She's the host of the phenomenal podcast, True Grit and Grace. Just an overall juggernaut in all facets of life and a terrific human being. Please welcome the inspirational and iconic Amberly Lago. How you doing, Amberly?
I am floored right now. That is the best introduction I've ever had. Thank you so much. You just like made my day. I was listening to that with the biggest smile on my face. Every time I'm around you, I always feel better. I had so much fun doing the live on Instagram with you, and I love your energy. So thank you so much for having me on your incredible show. I feel so just grateful to be here with you right now. Thank you.
My pleasure. And I'm so happy I did you right with the intros because I take great pride in those. And just like you, I'm such a fan of yours. And like I was saying before we went on air, I know we both do a lot of these, but you have my word. We'll keep this fresh and interesting. The CLS audience is very engaging. We just hit 100,000 downloads and we'll absolutely manufacture magic together here today.
I'm ready to have some fun with you. You always manufacture magic wherever you go. I'm telling you.
Thank you. Always. Before we get deep, we're going to get a little weird to begin. Are you ready for me?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's get weird.
Amberly, what is your superpower?
I think my superpower, the first thing that came to my head was my husband says, I just won't die. He's like, you just won't die. And I think it's because I've been through so much and I just don't give up, So I would say my superpower is resilience.
That's terrific. I thought you were going to say something like resilience, but the way you articulated that, you just don't die. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. And then one of my girlfriends just gave me a t-shirt that says not dead yet. And I'm like, that's right.
Your best is yet to come. You have so much life ahead of you, but it's true. It's true. Your resilience is second to none. I love that about you. Describe yourself in 3 words.
I would say kind, compassionate, and grateful.
Yes. What is something very interesting about you that a lot of people might not know?
Well, people are always surprised when I tell them that I was a professional dancer, and the first music video that I was ever danced in, I was in MC Hammer's Can't Touch This video. I was like one of the token white girls dancing in those fancy pants. And so I think people are always surprised when I get up and bust a move. They're like, oh my gosh. I don't know if they're surprised because I'm older and I can still move like that, or that
you're spring chicken.
Hardly. I'm nearly half a century old, but I can still get, silly and dance and have fun.
I love that. And I did a lot of homework because number 1, I'm a big fan, but number 2, preparation breeds confidence. And I saw that you were in the MC Hammer video. That's really cool. That's funny.
That's funny. Yeah. I had so much fun. I moved to California when I was 18. I just graduated from high school and I had the time of my life. There were definitely some ups and downs that a lot of rejection, but that I think helps you build your grit and your confidence too. But I feel so blessed because I got to do what I loved. I remember thinking to myself, I can't believe they're paying me to dance I would do this for free. And I think that's one of the, I still pinch myself so many times that I get to do the work that I love. And I think it's really important to find what brings you joy and go after that because it doesn't ever feel like work.
You speak into my soul right now. And let me know if you know a good surgeon, because you'd have to surgically remove the smile from my face. I couldn't agree more. And I only know that so deeply now, looking backwards, realizing I don't want to say wasted because I don't believe anything was wasted, but how long I spent doing things that weren't in alignment, like how inauthentic I was until I started CLS and helping people and doing this. Now I know I'll be doing this in some fashion until my last breath. But it's so true. Like when you have the opportunity to live inside your vision, like You just, it's such a different frequency of like living in a state of gratitude.
It really is. It shifts your whole perspective. It changed my life. And your brand has just exploded. And I think that's because of who you are and your passion behind what you do and the energy and the effort and just you saying you did the research. There are a lot of people that don't do the research and I don't know if their hearts are really in it, but you can see in all that you do that your heart's in it and that shows. And that's why I'm not surprised your brand completely exploded, just exploded.
Thank you so much for saying that, Amberly. I knew we were going to get deep and emotional. You're not supposed to make me cry yet.
You know what? I was just crying right before this because I went and had my hair blown out at the dry bar down the street. I wanted to look fancy for you, so I actually did my hair. And
You look
when I
great.
went, well, you're so sweet. Um, when I went to the checkout, the lady was like, this dry out is on us. We know that you are coming upon your 11-year anniversary of the day that you had your accident and you almost died. And I started crying that now that is some service right there. They gave me a free blowout. And it's like the little things like that just kindness that just really change your day, that
100%.
somebody puts in that. And so I was blown away. So I was actually seriously just crying and made sure I didn't have black mascara on my face anymore.
But you look absolutely outstanding and stunning. And kudos for the free blowout. You deserve it.
Oh, thank you. It's the little things, it's the little
Absolutely.
things.
Absolutely. Amberly, right now, like this day and age, what makes you feel most alive?
Oh, I think what makes me feel most alive is when I get to be around the people that I love doing the things that I love. That's what brings me joy. That's what fills my heart, fills my cup. And that's when I feel most alive. And so whether that's with my family and I'm, at the barn goofing off and playing with my daughter and her horse, or whether that's, I just got back from Florida and I was with 35 other women. I co-created a mastermind that I taught out there, and it just made me realize just how much I love doing what I do, and to be around so many people and get to finally hug people again. Cause in California, we've been pretty locked down. I think I was more grateful to be at an event than I have ever been because it's been so long since I'd been at an in-person event. So I think that's what brings me the most joy is just getting to be around people that I love and doing the things I love. That's
Yeah.
bliss to me.
It's so interesting the way you worded that because it made me think of a couple of things. Like we need something kind of taken away from us to really appreciate it when it comes back. Like for you, being able to hug people and be around all those people, you never appreciate it so much because for the last year we didn't have that opportunity. Like even like recently, I was trying out a fast. And then when I finally broke the fast, I had a meal prep. But to me, that meal prep was like the greatest meal in the world. And so it just like changed my perception on food. And even like when we have like pain or there's something that we're dealing with, like the opponent or in our head is messing with us, like we need that so that we can overcome that so we can achieve spiritual light. And I just love the way you worded that.
Oh, it's so true. Those things that are, taken away. I remember in the hospital when I was in the hospital for months at one point, and just having hospital food. When I first got out of the hospital and going out to dinner for the first time, it was like I felt like royalty having a real plate and a steak and a potato and like real food. And so you're right. It does make you appreciate those things. And I think that's why a lot of people do fasting. I know they do it for a lot of health
Yeah.
benefits too, but it
Right.
does shift. There's something about it that shifts your mindset as well.
100%. That's what happened with me. Amberly, what is your definition of success?
My definition of success for me, and I know it's different for everyone, but for me, it is being able to be in the present moment with gratitude doing the things that you love, and again, being around the people that you love, to me, and it's having your health. I think that health is the most important thing. You know, because when you don't have it, you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the things in the world, but you can't enjoy it.
Right.
And, there's that saying where, uh, if you have all the, if you have your health, you want all these things. But if you don't have your health, you want one thing, and that's
Which one?
just to be healthy.
Yeah.
And so for me, success is being healthy. It's about, I'm sober. So that's very important to me, my sobriety, and just getting to do the things that bring me joy and getting to hang out with people like you. That's like, wow, I'm successful that I get to hang out with you. In fact, my husband he was giving me a hard time. He was like, I told him, I called him and I was like, honey, you won't believe it. They gave me a free blowout at the dry bar. And he goes, well, congratulations. You have hit success. you're so that I said, you know what? It did make me feel that way. So
Good.
success can be in big things. It can be in little things. And I think it's important to count the small wins along the way and enjoy the journey along the way. I think so many times we get caught up, and I know I have anyway, where I was like, I got to make it to this goal, and then I have to make it to the other goal. And if we aren't enjoying the whole process, then we what's the point? It's for me, it's like I want to enjoy the journey. And then when I reach that success, really celebrate it too and be in the present moment.
Yeah, I love that you touched upon this because it's something that I acknowledge that I need to do a better job of. Like we're always like if you have that arrow, like if the target keeps moving back, that's not good either. So you have to celebrate the smaller things. I'm glad that you brought that up. Something that I need to do a little bit better and just be more present and acknowledge some of the small wins and then on to the next one and so forth.
Yeah, it's hard to be in the present moment, especially as an entrepreneur. When I had my business before, I had a fitness business, and I was in the fitness and health and wellness business for 25 years, and I had a set schedule. So I knew, well, it would change a little bit, but for the most part, I knew what my schedule was going to be every week. But as an entrepreneur, I don't feel like my doors are ever shut. So I have to, especially having an office at home now. When COVID came, I shut my office because the building closed. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to turn my home into an office here and record from here. And I had to get really strategic and, have office hours. And believe it or not, my 13-year-old helped me with that, because I was downstairs one day and I was on my phone. I was doing something on my phone and she was trying to talk to me. And I was like, I can't right now. I'm in the middle of a project I'm working. She goes, well, if you're working, go back to your office. And I was like, oh, okay, I gotcha. So we had to set up like, okay, what are my office hours? And then what are my hours where I'm going to be done and really be able to be present with my family and get off my phone. And I don't know, do you check your insights or your time spent? Like I get the weekly report
Yeah,
of
I
how
get it
much
too.
screen time
Yeah.
you spend. And I was shocked. And my daughter looked at it and she was like, Mom, you have 70 hours of screen time last
So
week. And I was
that's a
like,
lot.
it's a lot. But,
Yeah. Of
when we're doing a lot through Zoom
course.
and a lot of virtual events, and my clients are through Zoom,
Yeah.
and then on social media, I'm very active on social media. So it's really important to set those healthy boundaries so
Healthy
you
boundaries.
can, be in the moment and enjoy the
Definitely.
journey.
Yeah. And also, as we continue to get out of this pandemic, it's where that screen time percentage is obviously going to go down.
Yeah, I think so. Do you find that people are getting a little tired of Zoom, or do you, because I feel like it's a blessing, but I know for me, I'm used to being busy and on the go and moving. And
Yeah.
it was a big change for me to, sit. So
It-
I have a pull-up bar over here in my office and I've got a Swiss ball. And so I get up and do stuff in between because it helps
You're
move
such a
your mood.
badass. I love it.
No, it just, you know, it helps. I think when you move your body, it moves your mood.
Of course, of course. Yeah. No, I agree with you. You have to keep active and do some stuff. But they say like a body in motion stays in motion, a body at rest stays at rest. Except you can't sit in front of the screen all day. It's good that you have that stuff.
Yeah, well, shoot, after I saw you when we were doing the live and you popped on the screen and you were in that shirt flexing your biceps, I was like, okay, I'm going to go do some pull-ups really quick.
You're the best.
You're a badass.
Me, you're on fire. You can't be stopped. I love it. Now we're going to get deep. You
Let's
ready?
go. Yeah.
Okay. When did you officially become Amberly 2.0?
Amberly 2.0. When did I officially, what does that even mean? Amberly 2.0.
Like, when did your mindset get to the point where you're like, this is the new real authentic me, and this is what we're running with forever, and I'm letting go of some of the stuff that held me in shackles?
And see, I'm still learning. That's why, and
We
I'm
all
not
are, man.
afraid to ask questions like, what does that even mean? You are going deep here. You know what? I think I was always a really positive person. I was one of these people that loved to cheer people on. I loved to connect people. Would bring me joy when I could bring other people joy. So that started at a young age. I remember from, I mean, I was little, from as young as I can remember, I would do a dance, and everywhere I would go, my mom would say, come on, do a tap dance for them. And so I would do a little tap dance. I was like a little miniature Shirley Temple, and I'd dance, and it would just bring a smile to people's face. And that lit me up. And so I think that energy and that joy is contagious. And so I was always a positive person, an active person. And then after I was in a motorcycle accident and went through 34 surgeries to save my leg from amputation. And my world was just completely turned upside down. I mean, I lost my job. I lost my confidence. I had no self-worth. I didn't know who I was anymore because everything, really, my worth was kind of based on what I looked like, because I was a personal trainer and I was a walking billboard, advertisement for my business. I had several other trainers that I employed. So I valued my worth on how much money I provided. I was the breadwinner of the family. And when that was all gone, I was like, wow, who am I? And it was really hard. I did not want to accept the person that I had become, because not only was I scarred and deformed from the hip down on the outside, I was filled with shame and anger and just depressed. And I did not have the proper tools to get through that. My only tool that I had before was, honestly, it was working out. If I was sad, I would work out. If I was, anxious, I would work out. I was a runner, and I didn't realize until this that I literally ran from everything in my life. And I think a lot of times that's what a lot of us do when we have any sort of pain. We either run from it or stuff it down. So when I couldn't run, I started stuffing it down. I started, drinking too much. And I know a lot of people either eat too much or shop too much or date too much or any of that. And so it wasn't until I was really struggling and I was slowly killing myself. I thought, here I survived this horrible accident just to slowly be killing myself. I was like, there's got to be more to life than this. I've got to be meant for more. This can't be it. And it was when I r- humbly asked for help and reached out and admitted I got a problem. I was trying to pretend like everything was okay. So on the outside,
Yeah.
I was trying to hold it all up and pretend like I was okay. But on the inside, I was literally dying inside and slowly killing myself. And it was when I did that. And I think it's when you decide that you want to do something, it's when you decide and then you commit and you have that willingness every day to work to get better, to be a better person, is when I really decided I wanted to be the best version of myself. And that took a long time. So, I mean, the first year I got sober, I think I cried almost every day. because I had to feel all the feelings, I had been stuffing down all these feelings. And man, when the floodgates came open, it was like, okay, I was a mess. And I mean, some days I'm still a mess,
Sure.
but at least I have some tools to get through those difficult times. And, I'm inspired to share hope and inspiration with others who are in a dark place like I was. And I'm telling you, if I can climb out of that, I mean, I was thinking to myself, my kids could find a better mom. My husband could find another wife. Those were the thoughts going through my head. And if I can climb up out of that, reinvent myself, um, learn how to use a computer and Zoom and write a book, and then go on to be on the Today Show and the Doctors and Hallmark, and get to share the stage with some of the some of my favorite people, Mel Robbins, Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, David Meltzer. Then if I can do that, then anyone listening who's struggling right now, I promise, if you put your mind to it, you can do anything that your heart desires.
I love it all. I just want to let that sink in for a second for the audience. Like, it doesn't get more valuable than that. I mean, when you're having thoughts like maybe my kids could have a better mom, like that's as real as it gets. And then you overcame that. And now you're a beacon of anybody in any walk of life that's going through stuff that are similar, or even stuff that are not similar, but are not where they should be mentally, whatever the case may be. You've done it, and you've made the switch, and look at you now. And I just want to say, I have so much respect for you personally. I admire you so much. I know that life is never easy for anybody. There's always peaks and valleys, but when you're really going through it, it's hard to see the light,
It
and you
is.
did climb out of it. And I love that.
It's really hard to see the light when you're in that dark place. Um, but if we can start to get out of the mindset of why me? Why me? Why is this happening to me? And start to shift that to why not me? What's next? Maybe I can, learn and grow and bounce forward even
Yeah.
better. I don't even like to say resilience is bouncing back. I like to say that resilience is, it's our ability to find courage and choose to live a life filled with joy and laughter, even when things don't go as planned. Because as we all know from this past year with COVID, like most things didn't go as planned, And so I think that, being resilient is our ability to pivot if we need to and completely reinvent ourselves, or be flexible and just, no matter what, just getting back up.
Yeah.
But that really takes a willingness
Oh
to
yeah.
try.
Yeah.
And,
It's going to
you
take
know,
everything you got. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I think there's gift in desperation, because that's what led me to finally have enough courage to admit that my life was not going well and I needed help. And I
Really
think,
say that again. Gift in desperation. That's
yeah,
that's beautiful. I love
I
that.
think there is a gift in desperation. I think there's, a
Definitely.
lot of times people think, oh, you're desperate, but there can be a gift in that. I mean, I was so humbled. I mean, it's humbling going from the day before my accident. I had just filmed a fitness video. I was sponsored by Nike. I ran my best 11 miles. I used to have a running partner and I kicked his ass. I was on top of the world, and I thought life is good. I got a husband. I had had two failed marriages. I was like, I finally got the man of my dreams. I've got two healthy kids. Life is good. And dang it, everything changed in the blink of an eye. And we just never know. There are no guarantees. And so that's why I think it's really important to do your best every day to build a solid foundation. So when things don't go as planned, it doesn't completely derail you or make you hit rock bottom or go down as far as I had gone.
So valuable. I love all of this. I knew this was going to be special, but this is even deeper than I imagined. This is great. I want to jump around for a second because I know the audience loves to get a little bit of a background, and then we'll come back to the accent so forth. And obviously after that, you grew up in Texas, correct? In case the audience can tell from the accent.
Yeah, I grew up in Texas. I always forget that. It's confusing to people because I live in LA and they're like, "Hey, I thought you were in LA, but you don't sound like you're in California." But yeah, I
Sounds like
grew
a
up in
Southern
Texas.
belle, a beautiful
My
Southern
mom
belle.
is a Southern Belle for
Really?
sure. Oh my gosh. She is a Southern Belle. She would not leave the house without full hair and makeup, and always had pie or muffins or cookies, because in Texas, where I'm from, people just stop by. Here, if somebody knocks on your door, you're like, who's at the door? In Texas, people just drop by. People also go to their neighbor's house to ask to borrow a cup of milk or sugar. And that's the thing that I noticed, people don't really do that around here
I understand.
still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Texas several times. It's definitely a lot different out there than probably LA or New York.
It is. The last time I was there though, my dad wanted me to go meet a bunch of his friends. So we're hanging out and they are just going on and on about how much they just don't like California
Mm.
and all this stuff. And they're like, yeah, those dang Californians taking over our Texas. One of them had a bumper sticker that said, don't California our Texas. And they're like, so where are you from? And I'm like,
Mm,
California. And
yeah,
they're
about
like,
that.
oh, I'm like, but I'm originally from Texas. But yeah, a lot of people from California moving over there.
I love it. That's funny. I understand. I know a lot of people leaving Texas right now. So you grew up a tomboy and you love to dance, as you mentioned earlier. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, but you had a partial scholarship to UCLA, but you decided not to do that to go pursue dancing full time.
Yeah, my family was not so happy about that at first, but um, I never really wanted to go to school. I mean, I was a really good student. I graduated an honor student. I was, very active in school, and, I was the mascot. I was the choreographer for the drama team. I was in choir. I was president. I was vice president. I was like all the things in school, but I really never wanted to pursue a college education because I knew that I didn't need a college education to do the thing that I loved, which was dance. And I knew that if I could just get to LA, I could audition at this place called the Dance Center with Joe Tremaine. So I had a whole plan. And I think I got the partial scholarship because I wanted to kind of make my family feel okay about me moving to LA. But I came to LA, and I got here a month before. So they would see me, and I was like, I'm going to be in class every day for a month. I want them to know that I'm serious about this, and I want them to see my face. Well, Craig, I was the worst dancer. I mean, I might have been a good dancer for that little town in Texas. When I got
Right.
to LA, I went to the front of the room. I was like, I am ready for this. Let's go. And the teacher threatened to cut my arms and legs off and throw me out the classroom door
What?
because I was horrible. I was horrible. And I went and I went outside and I cried. And this was a ballet class, and I went back in and she looked surprised to see me back in there. I could have given up, gone
Resilient.
back to Texas right there, but I was like, I want this so bad, and I've got to work. I might have to work harder than everybody in here because I suck and I need to take more classes than anybody here. And so I went right back in and I auditioned and I made scholarship. I think that they saw my grit probably and my passion, and that I was a
Definitely.
hard worker. And he took me under his wing, and I cried, and I'm just getting emotional thinking about it
Good.
because it was my dream come true. And at the end of scholarship, I was, I think, the only dancer that was, the agents came to the show. I got awarded uh, most, like I had achieved, like gotten so much better,
Improvement.
overall improved. I got
Wow.
awarded for that. And then I was the only dancer that every single agent that came to see the show wanted me to sign with them. And so
That's great.
if I can be that bad and have someone threaten to cut my arms and legs off and just keep going back, and it was hard, it was work, but it just shows you that if you work hard, then it's not necessarily about your money or your title or how good you are. It's often just, your passion and your hard work that goes behind what you love doing.
And I love how you always use a lot of the words that you use, I also use. That's why I was telling my sister, like, you're like the female version of me, like gritty. You're so gritty. And I love that you love that word and you always use that. What an awesome trait to have, grit.
I think we need that if we want to be successful. I think that every business needs that. And I want people on my team that definitely have grit,
Yeah.
that are going to work hard no matter what. And I mean, look, I say work hard, and I know I used to have this whole thing. I say work smarter, not harder, but I still believe you have to work hard if you want to get from point A to point B. Well, it's not just that, but I think that you have to have smart people around you to give you counsel along the way, helps you to get from point A to point B faster. But I don't think that I've never been able to achieve anything by just sitting back and hoping that I would, you know, have a
No,
best-selling book, or I had to like show up every day and
me too.
put some effort into it.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question that just popped into my head. Do you think you can teach someone grit, or do they have to be born with that in their soul?
I think that definitely you are born with some of that. I think that you're born with some of that characteristics, but I think you can definitely learn grit.
Yeah.
I definitely think you can learn grit.
Hell yeah.
Uh-huh.
Cool. So then from there, what transpired between that and then obviously the accident and so forth?
Well, let's see. Well, from being a dancer, I knew I wanted to retire from being a dancer at a young age.
Really?
And oh yeah, I wanted to retire when I was like at the top of my career. I wanted to finish strong.
I like your style.
Yeah, I was like, I don't want to, I saw a lot of dancers before me that were injured and they were angry and bitter and getting just, in this comparison trap of comparing themselves to these younger dancers that were coming, and I thought, I don't ever want to be like that. I want to finish when I'm top, and I want to choose something else where I can have a career and thrive. And so I really thought about, when I think you're trying to decide what it is you want to do, what I did was I started thinking about all the things that brought me joy. And then I had injured my knee. I'd blown out my knee, and I was supposed to have surgery. It was a torn meniscus and I was supposed to have surgery. And I'd never had surgery before. And I was terrified. And I thought, well, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to try to get as strong as I can for this surgery so I can get through it better and easier. And I started going to the gym and working out. And I started getting better, and I canceled my surgery. I didn't have to have the surgery. And so I thought, well, if I can do that, maybe I can help other people do that too. So I think it's important when you're trying to figure out what you want to do is find what brings you joy, figure out the problem you can solve, and then go teach that. And so I really got into the fitness industry. Loved it, loved teaching classes, coaching clients, and loved it so much that I had a 6-week course and I helped other people get certified to be trainers. And from that course, I would hand pick like the hardest, grittiest, like people that were hungry and passionate that would take my course. And I'd be like, hey, you want a job? And I had a system set up to where it was a win-win for both of us. So I could feed them clients, and they would make more money. The more they worked with me, the more money they made. And so one thing that kept me going after my accident was I had this business of trainers that were able to pick up some of my clients that already worked for me. So at least I still had that money coming in. And so I was in the fitness industry doing fitness videos for Body by Jake and fitness. I was on labels of vitamins. It was crazy to go in like CVS or Rite Aid and see your picture on vitamin labels, and I did infomercials. And I mean, I just loved it. Fitness was my life. It still is a big part of my life. And for a long time after I wrote my book and I got into speaking and doing life coaching, I was trying to kind of get away from the fitness. Like I didn't want to put too much of that like on my social media or anything. And, but it's such a big part of my life
Yeah.
that I put it on there. I don't, and I actually still have a handful of clients that I've had for 15, 20 years that I still see and I've seen throughout COVID on Zoom. And now we're able to finally meet in person. And
Great.
it's just because I love them
The part of
and
you.
I love working with them.
Yeah.
Yeah. And yeah. And someone said something to me. They're like, oh, well, you're that fitness girl that got hit by the truck and never gave up and works out no matter what. And I was like, yeah, why can't you can be anything you want to be? But I have to say, I just went to an event this weekend and it's interesting to see what people's perceptions are of you. It doesn't really matter. It matters what you think of yourself, what you believe of yourself. But I went to this women's empowerment event and I step on the red carpet and I recognized one of the photographers and I was like, oh, I was like, hey, I think I know you. I said, are you friends with so and so? I was like, yeah, you were at my book signing 3 years ago. And he goes, oh, that's right. I remember you. You're that girl with the broken body. And it was like dead silent. Like everybody was just like, and I was like, oh, wow. I said, no, actually, I'm here to empower women. And I was like, stood with my hands on my hip, threw my chin up and smiled. And just because it stung, I'm not going to lie. I was kind of like, oh, wow, that's what you think of me? Broken body? No, I'm not broken. Yes, I've had periods of my life where I felt broken, but no, I am grateful to be able to walk on this red carpet. And I think it's so interesting, our mindset, how when something like that comes up, a comment like that in the past would have destroyed me. I probably would have been crushed or cried or ran to the bathroom. But like I said before, if you do things every day to strengthen your resilience, to build your confidence, to show up, to do scary things, do things that scare you, even though it scares you, do it because that's what builds your confidence. If you do those things and you have people in your inner circle who are not toxic, who are passionate and they're powerful and they're inspired, things like that, you can just be like, oh well, nope. And you know what? It ended up working out because he said that, the lady that was doing interviews on the red carpet was like, whoa, wait a minute. Who are you? Wait, you have a book? Come here. And she ended up interviewing me. And I was like, oh,
Good.
again, sometimes things that could be like, devastating or a tragedy or hurt your feelings can work out in your favor. It's all the perspective.
Everything is perspective.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then so the accident happens when you're in your late 30s.
I was 38 years old. So I had a 2-year-old and I had a 15-year-old at the time. And so my oldest daughter was going into high school. My youngest daughter, I had never been separated from. And now all of a sudden I was in a coma and then ICU for weeks. And my first goal when I woke up out of a coma was I wanted to be able to sit up in a wheelchair, because if I could sit up in a wheelchair, then they could roll me out of ICU and I could see my daughter. But every time I would try, my vitals would start to drop, my blood pressure would rise, my pulse would drop, and they're like, you can't do this. Because I was in so much pain. My leg was basically crushed. It was broken into pieces and it was held together with this halo with these steel bars. And every time I would move, it would be like re-breaking my leg. And so the nurses and the doctors were so incredible. The nurses actually made a lookout, and they snuck my 2-year-old into the hospital room.
That's great.
And so I got to see her.
That's
Yeah.
special. Do you remember anything from the accident, or did you just wake up?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
I wish that I just woke up,
Yeah.
but I remember every detail. The only thing I wish that I did know is there was a guy that basically saved my life. I mean, I saw the car coming for me. And when you're a motorcyclist, you ride defensively, meaning you look out on the road, you make sure people see you. So you try to make eye contact with people. You know, you're very alert. It's not like when people are driving, and especially, you know, in a Tesla with autopilot, it's like you're alert, you are there. And I thought the guy saw me. I think he maybe just thought he could beat me out of the intersection or something. And I was only going about 25 miles an hour and he T-boned me. I was thrown. I remember my first thought was, oh shit, this is really happening. I can't believe this is happening. And I didn't really have time to do anything but try to jump off my bike. I let go of the clutch, tried to jump off my bike. And I remember sliding down the asphalt thinking, please just don't let another car hit me. I thought I couldn't tell. And it seemed like it just took forever well, it was 30 feet. And thank God I had a backpack on because that could have saved my life because it was completely shredded. But there was this guy that made a tourniquet on my leg. My femoral artery was severed and he slowed the bleeding down, or else I could have bled out right there. And I wish I knew who he was. To this day I don't know who he was,
Oh, really?
but yeah, but I remember every detail. I was alert, and I think they probably thought I was a little crazy when I was in the back of the ambulance because they were, you know, they right away start trying to cut my jacket off. And it was a brand new hot pink Lululemon jacket that one of my clients had given me. And I was like, don't cut the jacket. Now, little did I know that the whole entire back of my jacket was just shredded. I had
Wow.
road rash on my back, my arms. And I'm like, I can get it off, you know, and there I am strapped to the gurney trying to take this jacket off. And they're looking like, okay, just let her do what she's going to do. And, but they wouldn't make eye contact with me. And that kind of freaked me out. I think that a lot of times we look to others to see how things are going, you know, especially when you have kids and they fall and skin their knee.
Yeah.
If you freak out, they're going to freak out. So I was like, oh my gosh, they're not looking at me. Does this mean I'm going to die? Am I not going to be okay? Well, then the pain was so bad that I was like, well, I wish I was dead. I mean, it was a pain like no other pain I've experienced. And they couldn't give me any morphine. That's the only thing that the ambulance carries for pain is morphine. And I'm allergic to morphine. And when I got to the hospital, they had to put me in induced coma because my vitals were shut. My body was shutting down. I'd lost so much blood that, you know, my kidneys, stomach, everything was just stopping work. And so they put me in a coma also because they couldn't control the pain.
How many surgeries did you have?
A total of 34. And it's interesting because Craig, I just realized that it's coming up on 11 years ago. This weekend will be 11 years. And I was talking to my best friend on the phone last night. And I said, you know, this is the first year that I really kind of forgot. You know, I'm like this time of year, I get a little bit emotional and stuff. And I was like, I kind of even forgot. And so it's a day that I kind of like to remember just as a celebration, just to be alive, you know. It
Right.
changed my life. And although I still live with constant chronic pain from a nerve disease I was diagnosed with, it has actually changed my life in such an incredible way that I get to connect with people on a bigger level than I did before. I always loved working with people and seeing them achieve their goals.
Yeah.
But now I have the opportunity to do that with you and your audience and on my podcast, and whether I'm doing a mastermind or speaking on a stage. And so people ask me a lot, do you wish it never would have happened? And I'm like, well, I don't ever get in that whole thing of thinking about, well, if I could change it, because I don't like to say coulda, woulda, shoulda. I'm like, this is the cards I've been dealt. And, it's up to me to play the hell out of those cards. So I think that when anything happens in life, when we remember that we actually have a choice, that we get to choose, we don't always get to choose what happens and how things play out, but we get to decide what we're going to do with what's left.
Yes. And I saw that you said somewhere that your grandfather said, you have a shovel in your hand, you can either lean on it and pray for a hole, or you could start digging.
That's right. You do your research, don't you?
Told
My
you.
gosh, you're amazing.
I have so much respect for you. You have no idea. So I respect the homework, and I want to have an unbelievable conversation, which we obviously are.
Oh, well, thank you. You're so amazing. And yeah, my grandfather, oh my gosh, I like to think that I learned some of my grit from him. He was, he passed away a year after my accident. Woo, getting emotional thinking about it. I didn't get to, I didn't get to see him before he passed away, but I think he watches over me.
I know he does.
Yeah, but he said, he always taught me, girl, you better get a shovel and start digging. Because I think it does take, I'm a firm believer in the power of prayer. But, like I said earlier, like you can't just pray, you can't just wish, you got to put some work into it too. So I've had people go, what does that mean? Pray for it, or pray or dig for a hole. I'm like, that means you got to can't just manifest. You got to put in some grit, get your hands dirty a little bit. You got to, do your homework like you did, for this. You made me
Right.
cry.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's what we do on the show. And I'm so happy that, and I'm so appreciative about you pulling back the curtain and getting so vulnerable on this today. This is really special. I know it's going to make a massive impact with the audience. And it's so true what you said, like manifestation comes, it complements the grit.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
you have to put in the work. And then that type of stuff happens with the prayer and all that stuff. But you got to have some effort too.
Yeah, yeah. And I when I was younger, I didn't really know what manifestation was, and I'm still learning about that. I always thought of it as visualization. And so if I could visualize something, then it would come true. I mean, ever since I was a little girl, I remember, if I could visualize myself, I was big into track. I was a miler, big time runner. And I even set a record in the state of Texas for the mile, which is a big deal because
Yeah.
Texas is all about sports,
Yes, I know that.
And I mean, I'm
Friday
sure
Night
that was
Light.
broken years ago. That was a long, long time ago. But yeah, Texas
What did
is,
you run the mile in?
oh gosh, back then it was for my age category, it was 5:20, I think,
Wow. That's
for
impressive.
that age back then. Well, now
Great.
that's not that impressive now. I mean,
What?
kids nowadays well, when you've got some great coaches who know how to train athletes,
Yes.
that's actually, I've beat my time since then, not in a long time, but that, when you can visualize yourself doing something, I swear you can make it come true every single time. If I could visualize myself winning that race, I could win it. I mean, I had to work hard. I had to train, and conditioning was tough in Texas with the humidity and 100%, humidity and 100 degrees. But also, in dance, if I could visualize myself doing 5 pirouettes, then I could do it. But
Good.
if I couldn't, it was like I would psych myself out. I couldn't. And also, as I got older, I remember trying to visualize myself growing old with my ex-husband. When I was married before, I would try, like, let me visualize us growing old together. What is that going to look like? And I couldn't see it. I would try and I couldn't see it.
Not a
And I
coincidence.
knew, I was like, it's done. It's done. And I'm not saying for anybody to go in their marriage out there if they can't see themselves with their partner. But for me, I'm just a very visual person. So
Me too.
I think you are too.
Yes, 100%. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I'm training right now for the Chicago Marathon, and I'm going to break 3 hours and 30 minutes for it, and I could visualize it. I see it. I see my brother give me a big hug after. It's gonna be a lot of fun, and I'm excited about it. And that's just that.
You know what? That's amazing. But I love that you put into detail that your time, how you're going to do it, how it's going to feel, that you're going to see your brother, you're going to have a hug. And that's when it becomes like, I can tell you visualized it because you have
Yeah.
such detail of how it's going to feel, who's going to be there to support you. And that's something I go through a process with a lot of my clients
Yeah.
to
And
get
then you
them.
can anchor that feeling. And then also when it's happening, it's familiar territory. I've been here in my thoughts. Like this feels very comfortable. Like I like to say, like a gladiator in his arena. I think the power of visualization is huge if you do it on a very deep level, which obviously you do as well.
Yeah, I do. And when I went on the Today Show, I was scared to death. Let me tell you, I was so nervous. Here I was going to go on national TV the day my book launched. And I asked the producer, I was like, well, what do you think Megan Kelly's gonna, here Megan Kelly's interviewing me. I'm like, what do you think, what is she gonna ask me? And they're like, you just need to go in there with your ears and eyes open and be prepared for anything because this is news. And I was like, okay. And so I would visualize how I wanted to feel, how it would be to walk, or I visualized, they told me I would start seated next to her. So I visualized myself started, in the seat in the chair next to her. When I got to the show, it was a little different. They're like, okay, they're going to do an introduction. She's going to tell you to come on, the door's going to open and you're going to walk on. And I'm like, I'm going to walk on. Well, do I walk in front of the table or behind the table? And they must have thought I was a nut because I was like, they're like, just walk on the stage, walk on the set. Okay, you got that? And I'm sure they were thinking, this girl, oh my gosh, Lord help her. She doesn't even know how to walk. You know what I mean? But it was the most incredible experiences. It was actually better than I could have imagined because Megan Kelly was so nice and we really connected. And she asked me when we went to commercial break, she was asking me different parts about the book. And I was thinking, oh my God, she actually read my book. Oh my God, she knows about that part in the book, And so she was just so nice. And I didn't tell a lot of people before. I think for me, I just interviewed Tim Story on my podcast and we talk about like sheltering your dreams. So if there's something like really like near and dear, like to my heart, that's a big plan or dream, I don't always go out there and say like when I first told my husband I was going to be on the Today Show, he's like, oh, well, you got to post it on social media. And I was like, I am not posting this on social media until I am on the plane, booked, ready to go on the set, because with news, you never know, it could all
No.
change. And I also wasn't prepared to take on anyone else's input or, opinion or their emotions about it. And I remember my publisher had told the publishing team and the editor called me and one of the first things she said was, oh my God, aren't you so nervous? And oh, I heard that, Megan Kelly, is not nice. And I hope she's nice to you. And I was like, you know what? I don't care what you've heard about her. I love Megan Kelly. This is an opportunity of a lifetime, and I am honored to get to do that. And I was like, that's what I mean about I did not, I knew that I had enough to worry about like my own emotions. And I knew I didn't have the bandwidth to take on other people's emotions. And, so I said it like the day before I was on the plane writing up the post with, okay, I guess this is happening. And the whole way to New York, I was like this, like a deer into headlights, like, God, my husband's asleep on this shoulder. My daughter's asleep on this shoulder. They're passed out. And I was like this. It was the quickest plane ride because I was just so nervous. But each time you do something that scares you, it shows you that you are capable of walking through those moments, that you can do it and with dignity and grace, that you can achieve things that are hard. And it starts to build your confidence. And, I still have to work on my confidence because it can get knocked out of me pretty quick. But that's the good thing about resilience and confidence is we have the ability to keep building it and keep working on it. And so that was a really cool experience.
I love that. And also now you have that as an anchor. So like if you ever have a day where you're not in an elevated state or maybe your confidence isn't where you'd like it to be, you can always go back to that moment on a very deep level. Like I was talking about the marathon with my brother, which is a future. This one is actually a past experience that you had that was exhilarating. It turned out to be an amazing segment on TV and so forth. You could tap back into that and then feel how it felt, saw what it saw, and then come back to the present, and you'll immediately have an elevated state. So you have that in your arsenal. Don't forget.
Yeah, you know what? I'm so glad you brought that up. That is such a good point. And I actually learned from one of my clients. It was when I was going to be going to do my TED talk, and I was so nervous, and I was really feeling like, who am I to go give a TED talk? Everyone else there has a PhD. I'm the only one that doesn't. And I did not feel confident. And my client actually taught me something that I now use whenever I feel nervous or anxious or like not good enough. And she said to me, Amberly, you got through 34 surgeries. I think you can go stand on a stage. And when I'm feeling like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can do this, I will think of that. And I think I encourage anybody listening, if you're struggling with not feeling like you're going to be able to do something, if you're nervous or you're feeling like, oh, who am I to go do this? Think about the hardest thing you've ever overcome and how you got through that. And you'll be like, I got through this big thing. Of course I can get through this next thing.
That's it. And also, you may not have had a PhD like other people there, but correct me if I'm wrong. Someone there told you that you actually do have a PhD in heart.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Yes, that helped. The curator helped me because she could tell. She's like, "Are you not feeling very confident about are you are because you don't have a PhD?" I'm like, "Well, yeah. I don't even have a college education." And she goes, "Well, you have a PhD in heart, and that's why we're having you speak on our stage." And so I think we all have a PhD in heart, and we all have uh, our own journey and our experience and that we can share with others. And so my experience is my own that I get to share with other people, just like your experience and all that you've been through. Just your experience with going through that marathon, you'll be able to share that experience and inspire other people's to maybe run a marathon or maybe how to get through it or how to train it and so everything we go through, we have the opportunity to impact someone else's life in a positive way.
I love it. And we'll wrap it up with this, Amberly. Something else that I saw that you said that I really want to touch upon because I thought it was so beautiful is whatever you're in, it's not your final destination.
Yeah, I think that transformation is not a final destination. I think it's a process. I think it's good to keep you know, learning and growing because that's the joy I find in life is continually just being able to learn new things. I mean, I try to learn something new every day. I read, even if it's just one page out of a book. every single morning. Do things like, now, like, people can listen to your show. They can learn from your incredible podcast. They can go to your Instagram, and every single post you do is inspiring or informative or motivational. And so there's so many opportunities out there to transform your life. It's just showing up, deciding you want to show up for yourself, and putting in the work to get better every single day.
I already know the audience is going to be absolutely obsessed with you. Where can they catch up with you? Where can they hang out with you? Where can they follow you?
Oh, well, thank you so much. My favorite thing to do is just connect with people. Really, that's what I love doing, is connecting with people. So reach out to me. Let me know, you heard the show on Instagram. You can DM me at Amberly Lago Motivation. Or if you want the Goals, Grit, and Grace playbook, you can just text the word grit, GRIT, to 818-214-7378, and you can get your downloadable playbook. I think it's important to take some things and really make them applicable into your life. So it's one thing to hear it, but do something today that's going to move yourself or your business or your family or your relationship into the direction that you really want to move it into, and keep moving forward.
I love it. And where can they find the book? Anywhere?
Oh, yeah. You can find my book at amberlylago.com. You can get it at Barnes and Noble,
Audible?
Target, Walmart. Oh, Audible. Yeah, that's what I love. Thanks for saying that. I love Audible books. My book is on Audible. I recorded
Hear that,
right
audience?
before.
Go download it tonight.
Thank you.
And also your
Yeah.
podcast is unbelievable.
Thanks for mentioning that. You are so amazing. Yeah, you can listen to True Grit and Grace podcast on any podcast platform as well. And I will be shouting your podcast off the rooftops. I'll be shouting this episode off the rooftops. So
We
I'm
laughed, we
I'm
cried.
excited for adventures with you. I know we're going to have more fun in the future.
This is just the beginning. And the audience that's listening to this conversation, we're over 100,000 strong now. Go say hello to Amberly. She's not shy. She doesn't bite. She'll say hello right back. Amberly, one of my favorite people. I knew we'd manufacture magic here today. This was really special. I just want to say to you personally, you don't shy away from your challenges as they've shaped you. It's something I find so relatable and liberating. You are the definition of resilience, grit, heart from overcoming such a tragic, painful accident. You're rock bottom to embracing your scars and sharing your gifts with the world, impacting lives worldwide. You're a role model, a shining light to your daughters, and to anyone going through adversity. Your mindset and faith is absolutely bulletproof. I could personally guarantee your best is yet to come. You're someone I admire, I appreciate, I respect, and I love very much. Keep spreading those wings, and you have my word. This will absolutely not be the last time that you and I collaborate.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. I don't want it to be the last time. I want to hang out with you all the time.
We're just getting warmed up. I could have talked to you all night tonight, honestly.
Oh, you're amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Amberly. I appreciate you. I know we went a little over. I'm sorry. I want to be respectful of your time, but I could speak to you for hours. This is unbelievable. So much fun.
Oh, that's okay. Oh my gosh, you are incredible. I've never met anyone. I've never been interviewed the way you interviewed me. You're incredible.
That means
I've
everything.
never
Thank
met
you so much.
anybody like you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
You are
Especially
incredible.
coming from you.
You're incredible. Yeah, I'm excited to share this. So let me know, and I'll make sure I share it.
I'm going to bump it up.